everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks. I am Maurice Brown, and we've got a great show planned for you guys today. I'm going to just tell you that right now. A great show planned for you because there were some great games over the weekend. I'm going solo this morning, but we'll be joined later by Nephew, Caleb Lopes, and Antoine A.S. Stewart. There were some great games in the NFL over the past weekend. And I got to tell you right now, shocking results in the NFL. Stuff that you just don't really expect went down. But we'll start off with a very slow and really uninteresting game last Thursday night on NFL Prime Video. It was the Patriots 21-18 over the Steelers. And they fired Matt Canada in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago. And unfortunately, they took food off the man's table because Matt Canada wasn't the problem. They don't have a quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett just won't do. And it's unfortunate because I like Pickett, but he just didn't have it. And not only that, he's their best option, and he's hurt. Mitchell Trubisky is a guy that you wonder sometimes if he should even be in the NFL. But that's how Week 14 started. And then we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeating the Atlanta Falcons 29-25. And the Bucs are quietly going about their business. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs aren't scaring anyone, but they're winning. And you got to give them a lot of credit for that. We're being joined now by Antoine A.S. Stewart. Stu, what's going on, bro?
What's going on, Mo? How you doing?
I am doing great. Just running down the scores from Week 14. Talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield, where they're not scaring anybody, but they're handling their business. And they have a shot at winning the NFC South. So we'll give them a little bit of credit for that. But then you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who destroyed the Colts 34-14. And my thinking going into this game was, okay, Jake Browning had a nice game last week against the Jags. You go, not bad. It's the Jags. But they destroy a plucky Colt team. What do you think about Browning and the Bengals?
I liked it, man. Hopefully, I don't know how long Burrows is due to be out, but I like the fact that they're finding ways to win without him. So that way, if he can come back, before playoffs, they'll be right there in the thick of things because this is a week-to-week league, and you've seen like the Texans took a loss, and things are happening at the end. It's shaping up to where teams like the Bengals may be able to creep in there and one and done in the playoffs. So all you need to do is get in.
Well, that's all you need to do. And they got my attention because I look at the Colts and I go, they are not like a bad team. They're kind of like the Bucs. I mean, they're not going to win a Super Bowl, but they played decent football and they were at home and they got destroyed. And the Bengals are starting to get my attention a little bit. Then Cleveland 31-27 over the Jags. Joe Flacco at 38 getting it done and winning that ball game. But I think the shocker of the day has to be the New York Jets over the Texans 30-6. Stu, how did Zach Wilson get that done?
Man, you're right. That was definitely a complete shocker. Zach Wilson went 27-36 with 301 yards and 2 TDs. They didn't really have much of a run presence. That was all Zach and the defense, keeping them in there, being able to hold that offense with all those that has been scoring, a lot of points these weeks. The 6 points was huge. That was just a complete team win. And I think Aaron Rodgers is somewhere smiling because if he is able to come back, he's like, I can work with that, So that was a great win by the Jets.
That was a great win by the Jets. The Texans were missing a ton of people in this game, by the way. I will throw that out. And then they knocked Stroud out, but still, their offense woke up. It's been anemic all year. So, yes, that may open the door for maybe an Aaron Rodgers return. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Baltimore in overtime against another plucky team in Baltimore, winning 37-31 over the Rams in overtime. The Bears destroying a team that we felt like had a shot at making a run at a Super Bowl, most of the season. 28-13 over Detroit. Did not see that coming at all. Another bad game for the Lions, Stu.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's kind of what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks is who are the true teams and who are the frauds. And we always put Detroit in that fraud category to where yes, they're 9-4, so they're most likely going to make the playoffs, but they aren't really who we thought they were. They aren't, in the top echelons of teams like the 49ers and although Philly lost Philly and the Cowboys, um, Detroit, they're showing that when in teams that they should be beating, that's one thing I will say about Dallas. They'll beat the teams they're supposed to beat. The question mark is what will they do against the big dogs? And they've shown this past week that they are able to content with the big dogs. But Detroit is supposed to beat the Bears. I know Justin Fields played. He didn't do great. He was 19 for 33 with 223 yards, only one TD. It wasn't like a phenomenal performance by him. Detroit, Goff, he threw 2 picks. He only had 161 yards and one TD. He didn't have a great game, and they didn't play well as a team. And I think they're a better coached team than that they should have put on a better effort against the Bears. But you got to bring it every week, and they didn't show up.
I want to say he threw 2 picks. They gave the ball up with, they had a turnover, like 3 turnovers. So, I mean, you can't win when you give the ball away. And I just think that was a consequence of Detroit just giving the game away. We're going to talk a little bit more about Detroit later on in the show as well. The Saints 28-6 over the Panthers. The Panthers put up the white flag officially, it looks like. We'll look at the Vikings here in week 14 as we continue with a very, very ugly win over the Raiders, 3-0. Is this baseball? Is this a baseball game?
I think it was a hockey game.
I mean, this is hockey. Is this MLS? I mean, what's going on? I don't get it. Thought we're playing football here. Anyway, the 49ers over the Seahawks, 28-16. Your boy DK Metcalf wanted to get into a little fist fight instead of playing football. What's up with that, Stu?
He's frustrated. Geno didn't play, and Drew Lock did a pretty decent job. I mean, he did throw 2 picks, but he had 2 touchdowns for someone just stepping in last minute against the number 1 defense in the league. He did a great job. I knew that they were going to come in and fight hard. This is a division rivalry. Pete Carroll always has his team ready to play the 49ers. I knew it wasn't going to be a walk in the park. I knew that they were going to get up for us and it was going to be a hard physical game, which it was. But DK has to work on, his mentality, man. He let them get under his skin, and he was frustrated. I saw on the sideline when he broke the thing they hang their helmets on the sideline. He smashed it. This is before he had his meltdown.
Okay.
He broke it and he was kind of frustrated. That was doing that in one of the interceptions that was going to him that got picked. And he just seemed very flustered throughout the game, and he's known to kind of have that it's easy to get under his skin type of thing, and that's what they were able to do, and he got ejected for it.
And we did not expect the Seahawks to really, win this game, but it was a divisional matchup. They're always plucky. 49ers winning handily 28-16. Buffalo 20-17. Speaking of meltdowns, beating the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes just simply lost it yesterday. And I get it. You're frustrated. You're trying to win. You're not getting calls going your way and all this kind of stuff. And eventually your receivers are dropping passes and all this stuff. You're not having the kind of year that you're accustomed to having. And, you lose another ball game where you're like, hey, what's happening to our season? And we're going to talk more about Patrick Mahomes a little bit later on. Broncos 24-7 over the Chargers yesterday. Justin Herbert leaving that game with a broken index finger on his throwing hand. The Chargers season is pretty much done anyway. Dallas, shocking everybody, really, for all intents and purposes, by destroying the Eagles yesterday in Dallas. But Dallas finally showing everyone, yeah, we can handle the big boys, Stu.
Yes, sir. Dallas, they definitely showed that they can handle the big boys. I think timing is everything. I think Philly was kind of emotionally and physically spent with that, that overtime game with the Bills and then getting destroyed by the 49ers and going for a big game. There's no excuse. Jalen Hurts didn't perform as his usual. He was 18 for 27 with 197 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It was definitely a game where, Dallas plays well at home and they got up for this game, which I'm happy as a 49ers fan because now the 49ers are number one in NFC. But Dak played a decent game. He didn't turn the ball over. He did have a couple plays, but he was 24 for 39 with 271 yards and 2 TDs. Tony Pollard, he played a decent game. They played a complete team game, and if Dallas is able to do this week in and week out, then I think a lot of people would give them more props. But nothing, I can't say nothing bad about the Cowboys. Great team win for them. Philly, they definitely have to get on the rebound and figure some things out. And too bad I don't think they have a bye week coming up. So, you got to figure it out fast. But they're in no rush. They're at 10-3. We know they're making the playoffs. But I thank you, Cowboys, for getting that dub.
So now we're going to look at some NFL headlines. I was talking about the meltdown yesterday by Pat Mahomes on Sunday, and they didn't get the call to go their way. So, and he really lost it. And I like I said, I get it. You're trying to get back on track. Second week in a row, you lose to the game based on a call here or there. It was a great play he made to Travis Kelce. Kelce kind of turned around, caught it, threw it back. And to Chiefs receiver, I don't know if it was Scantling or not. He caught it, ran in, and all of wins the ball game. You think, and all of a sudden it's called back. Are the Chiefs making excuses for playing poorly, Stu, by blaming officiating?
I believe so. It comes down to an accountability issue. Patrick Mahomes, I understand the frustration. He's playing his heart out. He's putting his team in winning situations to win, and his team is letting him down. The receiver clearly lined up offside. I don't understand what's the call with the refs. I mean, it wasn't like a call to where it was a questionable pass interference and you've been letting them play all game and now you're throwing it when you weren't calling that earlier, but it was a complete lined offside. It was an offside call, and I think him and Andy, they kind of got emotional with it. And I get it. You're defending your guy, but this is the same guy that had multiple drop balls that cost you other games, so it's definitely one of those situations to where I think accountability needs to be had and you got to own it, man. I mean, so many times the Chiefs get a lot of calls, they get away with certain things, holding calls and stuff like that. And now you're not getting away with it as much. And now you're whining and complaining. We don't have any sympathy for you. You are the best quarterback in the league. Figure it out. You guys are the defending Super Bowl champions. Figure it out. Get it together. Get your guys to line up correctly. I can understand if it was a petty call once the ball had snapped, but it was a pre-snap penalty. It was one of those things. You got to line up and you got to check with the refs. We know when wide receivers get down, they always check with the ref to make sure they're good. In this situation, he didn't do that. And it is what it is at that point. It was a great play. It didn't affect Kelce's ability to catch the ball and then make that great throw back so they could score. But hey, man, you got to get it together and be more disciplined. Usually the Chiefs are a better disciplined team. So I don't have any sympathy for them. They've won the big one more than once. So figure it out.
Figure it out, indeed. The Chiefs just are not playing good football right now. And
Yeah.
they were legitimately offsides. They were not robbed. They were penalized correctly. They lost a ball game. We're talking about a baseball game apparently played in the NFL yesterday by the Vikings and Raiders. Uh,
Yes.
final, final score 3-0 Vikings. Now, we looked at Joshua Dobbs when he first arrived in Minnesota, and he was lighting up the scoreboard. And, oh my goodness, looks like the Vikings are not going to skip a beat with Cousins being out. What has happened over the past 2 weeks to Joshua Dobbs and the Vikings, Stu?
Oh man, I think it's just one of those things where they got to get it back clicking. Of course, defenses are going to make their adjustments. They're going to watch tape. I see looking at it, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but Nick Mullins stepped in there and he had got some reps in there too. So it was kind of like a 2 quarterback game. But that was a nasty game, man. And it's kind of one of those games where I guess if you had to play in it, I hope you would come on the better side, which they did by only scoring 3 points. They're sitting at 7-6, so they're definitely looking like a wild card team, or they can potentially win the division. It's going to come down to the end in that division, but they got to figure it out. They got to. Whatever the Jets did, they need some of that same sauce. They got to figure out how they can get that offense back rolling. Clap my hand and shouts out to Minnesota's defense, because even though with this ugly win and where the offense didn't look good, Joshua Dobbs didn't look good, the offensive coordinator didn't look good, that defense held a team to 0 points and allowed your team to win. So shouts out to Minnesota's defense. I think that a lot of times in these situations, the defense doesn't get enough credit. But yeah, Joshua Dobbs and the team, they're going to have to figure it out. We've seen that he has the talent to do it. He has the arm talent and the skill set to do it. And they do have, their number one receiver, I don't think is playing right now, but they do have some talent around him to where they can get some things rolling. And against the Las Vegas Raiders, you would think that you was going to score more than 3 points, but they didn't. So it's definitely one of those situations where they have to figure it out and figure it out fast, because during these December going into January months, these are the months to where the best teams show up. And they're not looking like one of the top teams in the league right now.
No, and you figured their season was over once Cousins left for the year. Then Dobbs shows up and all of a sudden say, hey, they're not going to miss a beat here. They're going to be fine. All of a sudden now the reality is setting in. They really don't have anyone to just continue the flow that Cousins had going. And they're 7-6 and they still have a heartbeat. But it doesn't look good going forward. We'll see what happens down the road. We were talking about another member of the NFC North a little bit earlier as we were running down Week 14 scores, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions go to Chicago and get pounded at Soldier Field, a team that many believed would probably make a run at the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of people say they're at the big boy table now and yada, 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 and all this, that, and the other. My question to you is, have the Lions finally been officially exposed as frauds?
I think they've been exposed as frauds a while ago. They're a good team. We can't say they're a bad team. They're sitting at 9-4, but during the big games, they haven't shown up in the big games, and this wasn't a big game. And it's like, okay, so now you're not showing up against the Chicago Bears, who really don't have any playoff hopes. So, you got to figure it out. I understand it's a divisional game. I want to weigh that in there too. But it's one of those things where it's like, with the talent and the hype around Detroit and, what they've been doing, beating decent teams, this is not the time again that you want to show these vulnerabilities. You know, going in the December months, you kind of want to be clicking and rolling on all cylinders. You don't want to be not going into the playoffs not playing well. You don't want to carry that momentum into the postseason. They got to figure it out fast. They're a well coached team, but they're not as good as what a lot of people believe they are to be. And the playoffs is not going to get any easier for them. So they definitely got to figure it out fast.
They've got to figure it out fast, dude. They're sitting at 9-4, and their record is still gaudy, but they have not been playing good football over the past few weeks. And we're getting close to playoffs. We're not that far away. And they got a date with Denver coming up on Saturday. It's going to be in Detroit, but they've got a lot of questions to answer coming down the last home stretch of the season here. We're talking about the Cowboys, who
Mhm.
pounded the Eagles on Sunday night in Dallas, 33-13, the final score there. Just a beat down. Have the Cowboys, Stu, finally in your mind put the league on notice that they are a legitimate league power?
I- Yeah, I'm gonna say this: yes and no.
Okay.
Yes is because they showed that they could show up against Philly, one of the top teams, and not just the NFC but the league. A divisional game, they showed that they could show up in prime time. That's another check. And when everyone's watching you, when the lights are the brightest, how are you going to perform? Yes, they have definitely showed that the Cowboys are to be respected until proven otherwise. But the thing that I will acknowledge is, where was the game located? At home. Dallas seems to play the best at home. The question is, Dallas, can you go on the road and perform like this? When you're not in your cushy seats and got your favorite turf where you can run your fastest and you're in a hostile environment, can you show up the way that you did last night? I think that's going to be one of the bigger things to see moving forward, and especially in the playoffs, because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see the 49ers, and I'm not just saying this from a fan's perspective. I don't see the 49ers relinquishing the league that we have right now. I think we're probably most likely we're going to win out, maybe a loss to the Baltimore Ravens, if that. But I see the 49ers finishing number one, because if it goes to a tie, we have wins over Philly and Dallas. So I see us finishing number one. So Dallas, the Super Bowl may go through San Francisco. So are you able to perform at that level on the road? I think that's the question we have yet to see from them, and that's what we'll be looking forward seeing from them moving forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the NFL edition of the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks. Talking with Antoine A.S. Stewart. We are missing nephew Caleb Lopez this morning, and also Sandy Mack, the brother of Khalil Mack, who had some business that he had to respond to, and they'll join us next week. We were talking, Stu, about Joe Flacco a little bit, and we're talking about Jake Browning coming in for Cincinnati and Cleveland, respectively. Those two franchises losing their benchmark quarterbacks in Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson. You figured their season was over. They won a ton of games early to protect, the final stretch of the season if they could find a way to get into the playoffs. But
Mm.
right now they're holding on pretty strong. Both of them are 8-5 for the Browns, 7-6 for the Bengals at this point. Are the Bengals, Stu, back on, and the Browns for that matter, back on playoff schedule?
Ah, I think it's a week to week thing with both of those teams. Joe is not out for the year, so the Bengals have more hope on their side because they'll be getting their guy back hopefully sometime soon. I don't know how long he's out for, but as far as the Browns are concerned, Flacco, he's a vet. He's won a Super Bowl. He's played in the biggest moments. He's accustomed to playing with top defenses, playing for the Ravens, playing with Ray and company. The Browns have that type of defense to where they're going to give you a chance if you can get it clicking on the offense to be in the game and win the game. You're going to get that from the defense week in and week out. And they were able to make the plays necessary on the offense to get it done against a 8-5 Jacksonville team. They weren't playing a scrub team. They're now Cleveland and Jacksonville are both 8-5, and the AFC is heating up. Definitely, that defense picked off Trevor Lawrence 3 times. They were able to combat and slow down the run. Flacco had one pick, but he also threw for 3 touchdowns. And, they did a decent job spreading the love with the run between Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. So it's one of those things to where I see the bigger picture. I would give the nod to Cincinnati just because Joe Burrow, he's that great of a player, and when he's back into the lineup, things just click for that team. But I also have to give the Browns their props and say that no one wants to see that defense going into the postseason. That defense can wreck your game plan, and with a veteran quarterback like Flacco, he's able to get the job done. It may not look pretty every week, but those are definitely two teams to where I would say going into the playoffs, the Browns actually scare me a little bit more just because of their defense, to where they don't have to have a star player at the quarterback position to win games. Where we know Cincinnati, if Joe's not 100%, or if something goes left with him, they're pretty much, you can keep them at bay.
Well, I would agree with you about Cleveland as long as the quarterback's name isn't DTR. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Nephew Caleb Lopez. Caleb, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. What's up, Stu?
What's up, Caleb?
So we're talking about the Bengals and Browns getting some good performances from their replacement quarterbacks and keeping them alive to make a strong run down the stretch. Caleb, talking about the Bengals and the Browns. As we look at the NFL headlines version of the Maurice Brown Comedy Show, NFL edition. Now, we were also talking about Zach Wilson's performance for the New York Jets as they destroy a member of the big boy table in the Houston Texans, 30-6. Didn't see that coming. Got to give Zach a lot of credit. Zach Wilson played good football, and the offense came alive for the Jets. My question to the both of you is, has Zach Wilson's improvement increased the chances for Aaron Rodgers to return and push the Jets into the playoffs? Caleb, I give the floor to you, sir.
Okay. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna want to return if Zach Wilson has a few more of these really impressive performances like he did against like he had this week. But I feel like Aaron Rodgers is already set to come back next week or maybe this very week. But I do think he's going to want to push a little bit harder on that recovery. If Zach Wilson keeps playing top-notch football, he might feel a little bit threatened. I don't know. But overall, I do think Aaron Rodgers, he is trying to rush back to the Jets, trying to get them into the playoffs, at least get them a wild card situation to at least have a shot at a run into the playoffs.
So, Stu, I throw the question to you. Has Zach Wilson opened the door for Aaron Rodgers to possibly return and get the Jets into the playoffs?
Most definitely. It's one of those situations to where if the Jets were to lose out, there's no point of Aaron coming back, But if the Jets are able to make a playoff run, that's the time for Aaron to come back. And like Caleb said, if the Jets continue to win, it allows Aaron to kind of get everything situated a little bit longer before he has to actually step on the field. So that's definitely a benefit to them. And I think Coach Salah, he is a great coach, and I think he has his team rally behind him to make this push so that they can try to make it in. They're definitely going to have to continue to win because the chances are definitely slim for them to even make the playoffs. They're going to have to continue to win, but I definitely think that with the quarterback playing like that with Zach Wilson, it definitely gives Aaron more hope to, okay, let me go. Like we have a shot, some hope, some inkling of hope that they possibly can make the postseason. I think that gives Aaron more hope. Because I mean, to be honest, I don't really know because I heard him talk on another show and the guy was like, "Do you really have an Achilles injury? Which type of injury did you really have? Did I just call it that, or what's really going on?" And we've never seen anyone come back the same year from that type of injury, but especially from the quarterback position. So it's one of those things where it kind of like you just got to wait and see. I'm kind of hoping that the Jets continue to win so that Aaron can come back. That would be a great storyline. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
That will be very interesting because Zach Wilson was very impressive on Sunday. That entire offense woke up. I don't know what they did to change things up, but it does seem to have opened the door for Aaron Rodgers to possibly return. We're going to go to our NFL Power 5 segment, and we'll start with the AFC. And I have listed the top fives in the American Football Conference as follows. Baltimore remains number one, followed by Miami. And I've allowed Cleveland to step up as they're sitting at 8-5. I just think they might have a little bit more to say than the Jags. The Jaguars have just almost been fraudulent to me. And then I have the Chiefs at 5 simply because they're not looking good. Caleb, your thoughts on this Power 5?
I mean, it's fair. One thing I wanted to say about the AFC, it really hasn't turned out to be the division we expected it to be at the beginning of this season. We were expecting it to be like this high power division. I mean, the way I'm seeing it, I got one of the NFC teams winning the Super Bowl this year. But back to the Power 5, I'd have to agree with this. These are the teams that are playing best football recently. So I don't have anything to change.
Stu, your thoughts on this Power 5?
Not mad with it. I personally I would put the Chiefs at 3. I think that if they had to play the Browns or the Jags head on, I think that they would beat those teams. But I definitely understand the reason by doing it. Losing these close games and the technicalities and stuff like that, where Mahomes gets it done, but his team lets him down, and I think that's the biggest storyline of the Chiefs is his team good enough? We know Mahomes has star power. We know he can get it done, but he's not working with the same caliber of players he's accustomed to. But I'm not mad at it. The Browns, that defense scares me. I think that with that defense, the same thing as the way the Jets are playing, you can go in there and score 10 points and still win the game the way that defense is playing. So I think it's a pretty fair list as far as how things are playing out right now.
I think the Kansas City Chiefs have some issues. And I think
Yes.
we've seen it all year, and now it's starting to manifest. And when you start, lashing out at other elements to cover up the fact that you're not playing the kind of football that fans are accustomed to seeing the Chiefs play, and everybody knows it, and Kansas City knows it, and they're just looking beatable across the board. I mean, I could see Cleveland beating them. I could see Jacksonville beating them in a tight game. It could go either way. And that's not the Chief football that we've been seeing over the last 4 or 5 years. They don't play like this. So that would be my list there. I mean, I could put the Chiefs at 3 as well. Let's look at the NFC and the Power 5. And the NFC is kind of a whole other ball game. But I have the NFC Power 5 listed as follows. With the 49ers back at number 1, the Cowboys showed, hey, Philadelphia, excuse me, we'll take the number 2 spot, thank you. And we'll have the Eagles at 3. And then it kind of like there's a cliff after those first 3 in the NFC. It's kind of like, whoa, that was a bad step. And so, but there's just nothing there after those 3. And it's so bad that, and we're recording this on a Monday night, so don't know if Green Bay is going to beat the Giants or not. I feel like if the Packers beat the Giants, I would leapfrog them over Detroit simply because the Vikings are looking like really bad at 7-6. Then you look at the Lions and they're just frauds.
Yeah.
They have to remain at the big boy table because they're 9-4. Caleb, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it's a real big cliff between those top three teams and whatever comes behind. I mean, uh, those I feel like are the teams that are really contending to win the Super Bowl this year. I feel like the Cowboys showed us that uh, that we can kind of trust them to play hard nosed football and play uh, good against other high level teams. And I mean the 49ers at one, I don't think they're gonna lose any more games this season. They are one scary team. Uh, when they're healthy, as we've talked about on other occasions. But yeah, those three teams, they've got to be there. And you put the Packers and the Lions there, as you said, just as filler.
Yeah, they're just fillers. Heck, I could put the Falcons there. I could put the Saints there. At four
Yeah.
or five or whatever. I mean, it's just a big cliff after you get past the 49ers, Cowboys, and Eagles. Stu, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's arguing with you about that list. Like you said, after the big three, it's definitely a drop off in talent. The other two teams are kind of like that, the celery and the carrot dip sitting at the table, when everyone's eating the chicken, so
Right.
it's one of those things to where you could actually do a top three in the NFC the way it's looking. But hey, man, I definitely your Packers have been playing these last couple of weeks, and like you said, with this being Tate Monday, I don't see them losing tonight, but uh, I think that they'll definitely can build on that momentum for next year, but I definitely see them making a playoff appearance. And congrats to your team in doing that, because it definitely wasn't looking well for a long time. They started off hot, and then they hit that spot to where we were questioning everything about them, and they seemed to get it on track and everything. So I think that they're looking a little bit better than Detroit, even though Detroit has a better record. The Packers seem to be more consistent right now. So I definitely agree with that list from top to bottom.
And the rest of the guys that are at the table are like waiting for one of the mountain lions to finish eating their chicken leg and see if they can get some of the meat that's left off on that bone. Anyway, let's look at the NFL Power Five, and I have them listed as follows, with the San Francisco 49ers being the best team in the league, followed by the Cowboys, as you were saying, Caleb, about the NFC. I mean, it looks like the representative, the winner is going to come out of that conference. We'll see what happens. And then I have the Ravens at 3, followed by the Eagles and the Dolphins at 5. Caleb, your thoughts?
Yeah, top to bottom, I'd say this list is perfect. Uh, those are the five teams that have been showing good football. I mean, the Eagles have lost the past two, but I'm hoping they can get it back together like the 49ers did midseason. It is kind of scary to win, to lose two in a row deep down the stretch like they are right now. But I trust that they'll figure whatever is going on in Philadelphia, and they'll get back on track. But other than that, I'd have to agree with this list entirely.
Stu, your thoughts, sir?
I agree, man. That's the list right there. 49ers, as you guys mentioned, are seeming to be the best team in the league. The Cowboys, can't take nothing from them until they proven otherwise, but they shown with this past win that they are a force to be reckoned with. The Ravens are playing good ball right now, and Eagles, although they lost 2 back-to-back, they're still one of the top teams in the league. And I like where the Dolphins are right there, to where they, on any given Sunday, they can beat one of these teams that's above them, but they have to be consistent with it and show up in the big stage. So I agree with that list, Mo.
So we're going to move over to the Week 15 matchups, and we're going to start out on Thursday night, Prime Video. The Chargers and the Raiders are playing. And I mean, you talk about an insignificant matchup. Prime, Prime Video has really lost on their schedule this year. I mean, they just
Yes.
have. And because those kind of networks, they take a chance on teams that might do something, but you don't know. And you could win big with those guesses. This year, they've lost horribly. Nobody wants to watch this game. Okay.
No.
And so we're going to go to Saturday, and we're looking at the Vikings now in a huge playoff implicated game against the Bengals on Saturday at 1:00. Caleb, your thoughts?
It's gonna be. I feel like this is gonna be a pretty interesting game. Both these teams are striving for a playoff berth. I mean, both of them need to win this game, so I feel like it's gonna be pretty hard fought. The Vikings, they play 4-quarter football, and I mean, Jake Browning and the Bengals, they've been looking pretty decent. So I just think the Vikings need to fix something up with Josh Dobbs, get him back the way he was looking earlier this season. And I mean, but other than that, I think I'm gonna get the Bengals at 1 p.m. on Saturday. I feel like they have a little bit of an edge over the Vikings.
Stu, your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to roll with Cincinnati. I think the only way they lose this one is if that same Vikings defense that showed up against the Raiders shows up, and then you kind of make them throw up a donut. But I don't see that happening. They definitely now if Josh Dobbs starts balling out like he was at first, then it can easily happen. But they got to figure that out and fix that. I think Cincinnati has a little more hope as far as they're expecting to get Joe Burrows back. So they have a team with a little more hope they're playing with. So I would definitely have to lean towards Cincinnati getting this matchup.
And I think really I like what you said about Josh Dobbs. I mean, we've seen what he can do. Even in Arizona, he's had games that were really good. He's just not been consistent for whatever reason. But the Vikings at 7-6 are squarely in the playoff hunt, as well as the Bengals. This should be a pretty good dogfight right here, potentially. And there's also the potential that the Bengals may blow them out.
Yeah.
There's also that. So it'll be interesting to see how that game goes down at 4:30 on Saturday. We've got the Steelers and the Colts. I don't think anybody cares about this matchup. And then at 7:15 that night on Saturday night, we've got the Broncos and the Lions. Now, here's another game with huge playoff implications. It's in Detroit. Caleb, your thoughts on this one?
I mean, the Lions, like we've been saying most of this season, they have a great record, but I don't trust them to win these hard-fought, tight games. They've been looking like frauds against these higher than average teams, which I do think the Broncos are. They can put it together when they want to, and I feel like Sean Payton should get his squad ready, and I'm gonna take them at 7:15. So,
okay, all right, Stu, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I got the Broncos going on the road, getting it done. If the Bears are struggling, if the Detroit Lions are struggling against the Chicago Bears defense, I believe this Denver defense is a little bit better. And then with Rusty, he's starting to cook now. He got the apron on. And him and Sean Payton are kind of on the same page. So I think they're the better team going into this game, regardless of records. They're playing better right now. It's getting cold outside. We got some snow on the ground here in the DMV area. And I think that, Denver is cooking at the right time, and Detroit is going downhill at the wrong time.
Well, they are. And here's a nationally televised game in Detroit with huge playoff implications. And I think we know that the Lions can get busy when they're at home. They can give games away, but they play pretty well. when they're in the confines of their home stadium. And the Broncos have been playing I think this will be a very, very entertaining game. And something's just telling me that the Lions are going to find a way to give it away. Because the Broncos are a team that's been plucky all year. I don't think they're as scary a team as we thought they might be. I think this will be a really good matchup. Definitely one worth staying up for and watching. Now, on Sunday at 1 o'clock, we've got the Green Bay Packers hosting at Lambeau Field the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is a playoff implicated game. This is the lower tier. And when I say lower tier, I mean like lower tier of powers in the NFC. So these two little guys are going to be scrapping for a wild card spot, but nonetheless, a game with playoff implications. Also at 1 o'clock, the Jets and the Dolphins. I think this is going to be one of the more interesting games to watch on Sunday. Caleb, your thoughts?
You know, the Jets, they can make games close, but they can also throw them away. So this game, I feel like it's either going to be a blowout or it's going to be a fourth quarter real tight one. So, but nonetheless, I think I'm gonna take the Dolphins. They're the better team overall. Uh, they're leading the division that is a divisional matchup. They're leading that division. So, uh, I think I'm gonna take the Dolphins on this one.
Stu, your thoughts on this matchup?
Man, this is sad looking at this. I think Aaron Rodgers go ahead and just heal up for next year. I don't see the Jets going into Miami, and even though with that defense, Miami, they're playing for something. They're fifth in our top five for a reason. I think with the talent they have and the speed that they have, they're gonna get it done at home against the Jets. Unfortunately, A-Rod may have to sit this one out.
I I would have to agree with you on that one. We look at the Texans taking on the Titans also at 1 o'clock on Sunday. The Giants and the Saints, Falcons and Panthers. Bears take on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Kansas City will go to New England, and they should be able to get back on track as they take on the Patriots at 4:05. The 49ers with an easy one against the Cardinals, the Washington Commanders, and the LA Rams also at 4:05. Also at 4:05, here's one of the more interesting games of the day. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and how they have shown that they are a legitimate league power with their dominating win over the Eagles. But I'm going to tell you right now, as you accurately stated, Stu, within the confines of their own field, they're pretty dominant. But they got to go on the road. And Buffalo is a playoff team. They've not played like it all year, but they're very dangerous. It's going to be in Buffalo. I think maybe the game of the weekend. Caleb, your thoughts of this matchup?
I feel like the Bills have been playing a little bit better these past few weeks. The way they played against Philly, that the OT game, one of the best games I think of the season. And if they can come out and play that kind of football against the Cowboys, I feel like they have a real chance in this matchup. But I mean, the way the Cowboys have been playing, they've been playing lights out football. They've been blowing teams out of the water. So I think on this one, I'm gonna have to go with the Cowboys. But there really is, if the Cowboys slip up and give something to the Bills, they will take that opportunity and go out there and win this game. But I'm gonna give it to the Cowboys going to Buffalo and getting the win.
Stu, your thoughts on this one?
Definitely one of those tough ones. It's definitely a statement game for the Cowboys. This is on the road. You've shown that you can do it at home, but can you do it on the road? And this is a time for the Cowboys to show that no, last week wasn't a fluke. This is who we are moving forward. We're going to go in there and stomp the Bills out, or at least get a great win. So I'm going to go with the Bills at home because I'm from the prove 'em state. Until you show me you can go on the road and consistently do it, I'll give it to you when you show me that. But you haven't shown me that yet. And I think the Bills are hungry. They're not going in there to lay down. It's going to be cold in Buffalo. You're not going to be in that heated climate when the field is just right and no snow. You never know what's going to happen in Buffalo with that those cold temps. And we're going to really see if the Dallas can pack that defense on the road, and if Dak and company can show up like they do at home on the road in Buffalo. But until then, I'm taking the Bills at home.
Well, this is another statement game for Dallas, as they had to prove to everyone that they can handle a big boy in Philadelphia, which they did. They're going to have to show that they can go on the road against a playoff team and handle their business. This is a statement game for the Cowboys. And I think they're fully capable of going to Buffalo and winning just because of the hijinks you get from Josh Allen and the Bills. I think it's going to be a close game. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. And I don't even know who to pick in this game, to be totally honest with you. But I think on paper, Dallas should win this game. This is a statement game the Cowboys must win. Okay. It's not about, we gave it to them. We gave them a good run. They need to win this game if they want to prove, to your point, Stu, that they are to be taken seriously. Because quite frankly and honestly, as much of a playoff team as Buffalo is, they haven't shown that. And compared to the way that Dallas is coming in, the way that they're being touted coming in, Buffalo's inferior to Dallas. And the Cowboys need to show that, in my opinion. We're going to look at Monday night. Also, another game, not Monday night, that night, Sunday Night Football. We've got the Ravens going to Jacksonville to take on the Jags. Statement game, Caleb, for Lamar Jackson?
I mean, I'm gonna have to take the Ravens. The Jags, they've been playing good football, but I feel like they've had a relatively easy schedule this entire season. They have, I think they're like 9-3, 10-3, somewhere around there. But they haven't really played any superstar teams yet. And I feel like if the Jags want to prove themselves, they'll have to do it here. But I don't think they're going to be able to get the job done. Ravens have a great defense. Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback. And I think the Ravens should come out on top.
Okay, Stu, your thoughts?
I'm gonna call this a trap game for the Ravens. I think this is a game that they should win, and I must call this a must-win game from Jacksonville. Even though they're in a weak division, AFC South is weak, and they're probably gonna win their division and make the playoffs. But I think their confidence. They've been taking some confidence blows week in and week out, recently losing to playoff teams. And when you get in the playoffs, I know you're one and done, but I think that if they're able to beat this Ravens team, that will give them the momentum push that they need to going into the playoffs, that, hey, we belong here just as much as anybody and we can play with anybody. If they're able to beat the Ravens, which we all believe to be the top team in the AFC, I think that whatever spark that Jacksonville had early on, I think that they can rekindle this thing. So I'm going to call this a must win for Jacksonville, even though my heart is saying I believe the Ravens are going to win. Just for the fun of things, I'm going to pick Jacksonville to get the upset because they want to make a statement that we belong here. So this is one of those games where if you beat the Ravens, I think that's going to give them the confidence boost that they need going into the postseason. So I'm going to pick for the upset for Jacksonville.
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a good game and huge playoff implications for both teams. Jacksonville at home. Baltimore's got to go on the road and take care of business. This is another statement game for Lamar Jackson on the road. Let's see if he can answer the bell. And then on Monday night, the Eagles take on the Seahawks, and the Philadelphia Eagles should heal up pretty well against the Seahawks. So with that being said, we're going to get out of here, guys. This has been a great show, and we'll see what happens next week as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. This is the most exciting time of the year. We talk about college bowl games and now getting ready for the playoffs. This is the time for football in America. So with that, we're going to step out of here. Good morning, everybody. It's been great hanging out with you and talking football on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks. I am Maurice Brown, talking with Nephew Caleb Lopez and Antoine A.S. Stewart. Guys, until next time, Merry Christmas, and may the peace of Christ be with you and your families. God bless you.